Welcome back to Build and Be Found, the show where we dig into what it actually takes to be discovered or to get known, and to get remembered in a world that's moving faster than ever. I'm your host, and today we are going to deep dive into something that I think is one of the most important conversations happening in the creator and entrepreneur space right now. We're talking about AI search. And more specifically, how do you make sure that when someone asks Chat GPT or Perplexity or AI assistant a question in your niche, that your name comes up? This isn't science fiction. This is actually happening right now. And the people who understand it early, they're going to have a massive advantage. So let's get into it. But first, here's a short message. Got a milestone worth celebrating, a podcast launch, a wedding, a birthday, or just a moment that deserves its own soundtrack? Signature Songworks crafts custom songs that feel honest, personal, and unforgettable. Turn your memories into melodies, one of a kind. Know someone who'd love that? Connect with Mike LeBlanc on LinkedIn, and let's make something beautiful together. Okay, so let's start with the foundation. What exactly is a personal knowledge graph, and why should you care? Personal knowledge graph can be best described in this manner. Every time you post content, you get mentioned in an article, you appear on a podcast, or are cited as a source, you are leaving what is called a digital footprint. And a digital footprint is just a trail of data points that exist across the web. A knowledge graph is essentially how the AI systems connect these dots, or those dots. It is a structured map of who you are, what you're known for, and who you are associated with, and where you show up. Google already has a version of this and has had it for years, and you've probably seen it. It was basically when you do a search, someone's name, and a little panel pops up to the right side with their photo and their title, their affiliations. That's a knowledge graph in action. But here's what has changed, and has changed fast. AI tools like Perplexity, Chat GPT with search, Google's AI overviews, and Microsoft Copilot, they're not just indexing pages anymore. They are synthesizing information. They are pulling from multiple sources and cross-referencing data points and generating answers that cite specific people as authorities. So the question now becomes, are you one of those people? And if you are not intentionally building your presence in a way that AI can understand, recognize, and reference, you are essentially invisible to the next generation of search. Now, let's pull back the curtain a little bit and let's discuss how AI search engines actually decide who to cite. So, in order for us to get an answer for that, let's look at how the systems actually work, because understanding the mechanism is what is going to help you reverse engineer your strategies. When Perplexity or Chat GPT generates an answer, it's drawing from a few key sources. Source number one, indexed web content. That means articles, blog posts, interviews, press mentions, all in your name. if you've been written about or have written content that lives on credible domains, that content is being crawled and processed. Source number 2, structured data. This is things like your LinkedIn profile, your Wikipedia page if you have one, your Google business profile if you have one, and the schema markup on your website. Structured data is gold for the AI systems because it is already organized, ergo the name structured, and in a way that the machines can easily read and then come to a conclusion. And that's how they're able to use those as another source for citations. The third source is citation patterns. The AI systems pay attention to who cites who. So, for instance, if 5 credible sources all reference you as an expert in a specific topic, that is a strong signal. That signal is essentially digital social proof, but for algorithms. The fourth source is consistency of identity. And this is huge, and it's also often overlooked. If your name, your title, your area of expertise, and your bio are inconsistent across platforms, AI gets confused. And it cannot confidently build a clear picture of who you are. However, if everything aligns, you become easy to understand and easy to cite. So the big takeaway here is that AI doesn't just reward fame, it rewards clarity and consistency. SEO in 2026 is not what it used to be. Google is changing. AI is taking over. And if you are still using last year's playbook, you are already behind. And that's why I created the Build and Be Found 2026 SEO checklist. It is not another generic guide. It is a practical step-by-step roadmap built for the AI search era. Whether you are optimizing for Google, ChatGPT, or Perplexity, this checklist covers everything you need, from technical foundations to entity optimization, from structured data to AI overviews, from content strategy to real-time indexing. Stop guessing, start winning. Get your 2026 SEO checklist today at Build and Be Found. The link is in the show notes. Your visibility in 2026 starts now. All right. And this is the part that you've been waiting for. How to build your AI visibility. In this segment, we will be talking about tactics. Real actionable things that you can do starting today to build your personal knowledge graph and increase your chances of being cited by AI search engines. And I want to make a side note that yes, when you do start doing these things, the change may not be immediate. It may not even be a month. It may be 3 months. It might be a year. The point is that you started these changes, and the more you contribute and be consistent with the change, you will increase your chances of being cited by the AI search engines. So the first tactic that we can discuss, or that we are discussing, is own your entity. And that basically boils down to, in the world of SEO and AI, SEO meaning search engine optimization, and AI is artificial intelligence, you are an entity, okay? You are a distinct, identifiable subject that can be understood and categorized. Your job is to make that entity as clear and well defined as possible. And the way that you do that is to start with your LinkedIn profile. This is one of the most heavily indexed platforms on the web. So make sure that your headlines, your about section, your experience are all consistent language around your area of expertise. You want to avoid vague language and do try to keep it consistent in terms of what lane you choose to be, because you want to avoid trying to be everything. So when you make that type of a change, you then can take the same language, those same keywords, those same descriptors, and have them appear on your website, your podcast bio if you have one, your guest post bio if you have one, your author pages if you have one, essentially everywhere, your social media little slots, the bios as well. Tactic number 2 is to get cited on credible domains. One of the fastest ways to build AI visibility is to get mentioned on websites that the AI systems already trust. Those systems are industry publications and news sites and established blogs and educational platforms. So how do you do that? It can be done in a few ways. The first way is guest posting. And you can guest post on relevant sites within your niche. Now, this is not a new strategy. It's a strategy that has been tried and true for, I'm sure, at least over a decade, if not more, actually, come to think of it. The point being is, while you are approaching other blogs to post your to be a guest poster, you may encounter some adversity. You may find others are very reluctant because it was a system that was used earlier on to get more notable answers for companies and individuals in the search engines. And it was something that was used for positive and for negative. So there's a lot of leeriness, if you will, regarding accepting guest posts. But I do suggest that you do your best to try and find within your niche places where you can guest post articles, lists, top 10, top 5, top 10, 25, whatever type of content. Podcast guesting is another way that you can get cited on a credible domain. And that's because show notes and transcripts get indexed. And so in this show note and in the transcript, if you are being a guest on a podcast, the podcast host's information, their conversation is transcribed. Your answers are transcribed. What you do, what you say, where you've been, your area of expertise. And all of that information on 1 or 5 pages will be automatically transcribed, but it'll be indexed by Google. So when someone says, oh, I want to know who is my local top 5 business advisor, if you are on a podcast and you've done all the other things that I'm getting ready to suggest, then your name has a high probability of coming up in the search as one of the people being cited as the local authority or the local, expert advisor in your area, whatever it is that you have your words, your keywords structured for. The other platform or the other way that you can get cited on a credible domain is by using HARO, which is HARO, and it stands for Help a Reporter Out, and similar platforms. And these are platforms where journalists are actively looking for expert sources. And I have to say that from my experience, about a decade and a half ago, probably even a little bit more than that. I was on Haro, and I keep track of their their emails. And if I remember correctly, they send out emails in the morning, in the afternoon, and then in the evening. And all the fields are there, they're categorized. And there are journalists who are working on different projects. And so they're always looking for, an expert in this, and what's your take on this topic and that and the other. And I was working within a company, and we actually answered quite a number of the requests from journalists. And one day we actually got lucky. We were interviewed for this person's area of expertise, and it was recorded on their podcast. So it may take some time, but do your due diligence. You will be surprised what journalists are looking for. And there are some fields, I have to say, you probably won't get many requests for, but do not rule them out. If you can get on their lists, and you can even do a search for similar platforms that are like Haro, I would suggest definitely get involved, get on them, and stay tuned. Keep your eyes open for a possible opportunity. The last place to get cited on, which as a credible domain, which is a credible domain rather, is to do something what's called collaborative content. And that is to co-author articles or to co-author roundups. Roundups are, this Q1, Q2, Q3, we've done XYZ experiments. We're going to round up the top 5 or whatever. If you co-author those type of articles, you may actually, depending on who you're doing it with, you will definitely contribute to being cited on credible domains for yourself. And the point is to remember that every mention of your business, of your name, whatever it is that you need to market, is a data point. And every citation is a vote of confidence in your entity. So you want the searches to show that they are confident in you by citing you when a request comes up. The third tactic is that you can use is to create content that answers specific questions. This is a tactic that I've used years ago for SEO when I was actually doing SEO actively. I would actually use Google at that time and other tools to show me other questions that people ask when I type in a question. So for instance, I'm working for a company that's called Build and Be Found. I would do a search, what is build and be found, or what is build, and then all these suggested questions will show up in the search bar, right? And I would use those type of things to see what questions people are asking. Sometimes I would write in a specific question, and then I would look at all the results, because everything beyond page 1 and 2 always gave me more information to tell me, oh, wow, this is another thing that people are looking up. And here's a topic or a subtopic or even a subtopic to my niche that I didn't even think of. Okay, note to self, write down or write an article or create a piece, a quote or whatever it is. And I kept a running log of those things so that when I was creating my content, I knew more or less where I wanted to start from. And that's exactly what you are going to be doing. You are going to be helping AI search, because what AI search is, it fundamentally is about answering questions. So if you want to be cited, you need to be the person who has clearly and publicly answered the questions that people are asking in your space. So this means writing or recording content that is specific. And when I say specific, the title of your content would not say something like, here's everything about marketing, because here's exactly versus rather, here's exactly how a solopreneur should approach LinkedIn in 2026. Do you hear the difference between the two? One is drastically vague, and I'm sure millions of people are doing a search for those terms, and there's no way for you to be heard or seen. But if you niche it down slightly, you can, or make it more specific, there's a great chance that you will be cited for that particular question. Another way that you can clearly and publicly show that you've answered questions is by creating structured content. And this means that you use headers and you use bullet points and you use numbered lists in your written content, because AI loves scannable and organized content. And another way that you can show that you clearly and publicly have answered questions that people are asking for in your space is by being quotable. Include clear standalone statements that can be pulled and cited directly. And you could do that in your written content on LinkedIn. You can do that in your articles if you post them on LinkedIn, right? And not necessarily the answers to other people's questions. You can do this on your blog. You can do this wherever it is that you have articles written, things like that. You just pull those quotes, and then you can make them and share them on social media. You can share them anywhere. So think about the questions that your ideal audience is actually typing into AI tools right now. And that will be your starting point to make sure your content is the best answer to those questions on the internet. Okay? The next tactic, the fourth tactic, is to build your Wikipedia footprint even without a Wikipedia page. Now, everyone has a Wikipedia page. Well, not everyone, and that's okay if you don't. But Wikipedia is not the only game in town when it comes to structured reference data. A few sites that you can consider are Wikidata, which is a free open knowledge base that feeds into many AI systems, and you can create an entry for yourself. Another platform to consider is Crunchbase. Especially if you are a founder or an entrepreneur, you can create an entry for yourself. There is ISNI or ORCID. Those are abbreviations. And if you are in the academic or the publishing space, that is great. Those are two platforms to consider to create a page for yourself. And the last place is IMDb. And that is if you have media credits to your name, to your company, then you would create a page there. These sources, these reference data, structured reference data sources, I will list in the notes on the community page. And these structured databases are exactly the kind of sources that the AI systems actually pull from when they are building their understanding of who someone is. The fifth tactic is to leverage schema markup on your website. Now, the schema is a technical thing, but it's incredibly powerful. And schema markup is a type of code that you can add to your website that tells the search engines and now the AI systems exactly who you are and what you do. There is a specific schema type called person schema, and that lets you define your name, your job title, your areas of expertise, your social media profiles, and more, all in a format that the machines can actually read instantly and then give answers just as quickly. Now, the schema markup is a little bit, like I said, it's a technical thing, And if you have WordPress, there are plugins that make this very easy for you to insert into your website. If you are on a custom site, then I would suggest that you talk to your developer, or you can actually perhaps even search and figure out and to learn how you can add the proper schema for the person schema in this case for your website or into your website. And this one step is a one-time deal. It's a one-time setup. But this setup will last for years. And I can draw on two occasions when this has come up. One occasion is the person who I did a website for many, many years ago. They were starting a business. They were a solopreneur, and I had built a site for them. And originally we built it in the basic HTML. We eventually switched over to WordPress, and we put the schema plugins through WordPress. But prior to that, I had put the schema into their HTML. And that company's written content, their videos, their social media, always came up first in the searches for anything related to that field, anything related to the name of the company, even if it wasn't their company. Anything that started with certain words within the company name, they automatically came up in the first search results. And they were built on a .NET. And if you remember back in the old days, .NET was like considered second tier. .gov was, government, but .com was the gold, that was the golden address that everybody wanted. And it was a challenge to get a .NET to outrank a .com for the same word, but it happened. And a lot of it was not only just the schema, but it started with the schema markup in their website. And when their website was we evolved and grew into WordPress and changed the templates around and all that other stuff. Again, the schema followed. And after the business closed, they still showed up in the searches for a lot of the keywords, at least 5 years after the business had closed. That's how important the schema is. It pays dividends for years. Now, another thing about the schema markup is I was working on a site, a platform, and it's more of a SaaS, software. It's a website used as a software. And it was very difficult trying to explain to the technical team how the schema was important, because the technical team saw it from the perspective of, well, SEO, that's your thing. We don't do that. We just code pages. And I tried explaining to them that by coding this little bit of information, using whatever interface you're using, and if you're not sure how to do it, do look it up, please. And then here's the information that should go into the parameters that are set there. So I don't know if they actually followed through with it eventually, but that is very, very important, because that was another way to make sure that the site or this piece of software was going to be recognizable in addition to and alongside any of their social media, because they were changing their keywords and they were changing slightly the focus of their SaaS. And so you wanted everything that they had already planted we wanted everything that they had already planted, everything that they had already grown, everything that they had already created to merge perfectly, to be aligned. And so using the schema was one of those efforts to just draw in everything into alignment. The next tactic that can be used, tactic number 6, is something that also goes back to old school SEO. Be consistent across every platform. And I want to come back to this because I've mentioned it quite a few times already. This one is so important because it is truly the glue that holds everything together. Like I said a few minutes ago, in my example of the company that was a SaaS, they were changing their focus slightly. They were in one niche market and they wanted to slightly cross over into another niche market. And so we had to take the keywords and draw them into the content so that they could also start being seen and known and show up in the searches alongside a new set of keywords, a new set of information for a new niche market. And making sure that those changes on the website then were transferred over into their social media. So we slightly tweaked the bios of their social media as well, so that when somebody did a search for that particular company or that particular software, everything that could possibly be seen should be seen. And and I kept saying to everybody that it was very, very important to make sure that everything is consistent. And when I say that everything is consistent across every platform, I am talking about your name, your photo, your bio, your logo, your title, if it's you, the solopreneur or the freelancer. They should all be identical or near identical. Personally, I do near identical. I believe very strongly in repetitive content being a negative. And so I take the same message and I tweak the wording so that it sounds different, but the core message is still the same. So everywhere that you exist online, you should have the same headshots. You should have the same professional description. The goal here is to make sure that the core message is the same. When the AI systems see the same signals repeated across dozens of trusted sources, they build confidence, right, in your entity, meaning these AI systems go, oh, this is the legit company, or this person has something of value to contribute to the conversation about XYZ. And when the AI systems build confidence in your entity, and they will then cite confidently your entity. So the action steps for this is use the same headshots everywhere. Keep your bio and title identical. I personally do near identical. At one point I had everything identical, and I had seen in the searches that after a while some things were left out of the search results because they were repetitive. So I began doing near identical. Avoid vague or changing descriptors. And when I say that, I mean on LinkedIn or on your website or on Twitter or on your podcast bio or in your author bio. You want to say things like AI search strategist, helping creators get cited by ChatGPT and Perplexity, as opposed to something like marketing, online marketer. Okay? So you want to really get as specific as you possibly can for the AI systems to collect this information. Now I want to zoom out for a second. We've been talking about all these little detailed things. Now I want to look at the bigger picture. What I'm suggesting here is that we are in a transition period, okay? And traditional search, those blue links that you see when you see on the search result pages, the first 10 results per page, are not dead, but they are changing. AI generated answers are taking up more and more of the valuable real estate. Once upon a time, we would tell people, oh my gosh, you want to get on the first page of the Google search. You want to be within the top 10 because the first page always had about 10 slots, give or take. Now with AI coming up with summaries and making citations or referring you to go to this website or talk to this person or look at this person said or this person's book said, this all of that information is taking up more and more space on the first page of the search results, right? And any business who's literally solely focused only on SEO, which is the majority of us, we're getting bumped to the later pages because of it. And the longer the citations go on the first page generated by AI systems, there will be less blue links on that page. And now that valuable real estate will no longer is going to dwindle. And the people who adapt early on to getting into the AI searches are going to be the ones who will thrive, because more than likely their links may not show up on the first page, but they will be cited on the first page. And if they're cited on the first page of the searches, then more than likely their link will show up in the search. So with that in mind, this is what I believe is coming. And I said this about a year ago. I was in a podcast with a group of people, and we had a short discussion on AI. And I said this then, and I'm still saying this now, and I'm saying it now on my own podcast. AI will become the primary discovery layer for expertise. I'm going to say that again. AI will become the primary discovery layer for expertise, which means when someone wants to know who the best podcast editor is in their niche, let's say, right, as an example, or if someone wants to ask who the go-to LinkedIn strategist is for B2B founders, or who is the most trusted voice in custom music creation, they are going to ask an AI, and that AI is going to give them a name. Your goal is to make sure that name is yours. This isn't about gaming the system. It's about building a genuine, well-documented, consistently expressed body of work and presence that the AI systems can understand and trust and recommend or cite for years and years to come. And the people who win in AI search are the same people who win in traditional search and in life. They are the ones who show up consistently, they add real value, and they make it easy for others to understand what they stand for. So build your knowledge graph like you are writing your own Wikipedia page, because in a way, you are. All right, let's bring it home. I know it's an odd phrase. I'm trying it out. If no one likes it, I can take it out the next time, but it might stay. I'm trying to put some, what do you call this? Levity, a little sassiness to this, so that it's a heavy topic, and all business topics are very heavy. They're very boring. They're very tiring. There's a lot to think about. And so this is the end, more or less, of this segment. And I want to do a recap. So here's a quick hit of everything that we covered today. We covered understand what a knowledge graph is. We understand now that it's the connected map of your digital identity that the AI systems use to understand and to cite you. We learned how AI decides who to cite, and that is based off of indexed content, structured data, citation patterns, and consistency of identity. We learned how to own your entity by creating crystal clear and consistent content about who you are and what you're known for across every platform. We learned how to get cited on credible domains by using tactics such as guest posts, podcast appearances, expert quotes, and media features all count. We learned how to create question answering content, which means that your content will be specific, it will be structured, and it'll be quotable. We learned how to build your structured data footprint by using platforms such as Wikidata, Crunchbase, schema markup on your site. And the last thing that we learned is how to stay consistent everywhere. And that is by using the same name, near same bio, same message always. Your action step for this week is to do a personal knowledge audit. What I'd like you to do is Google your own name. Ask Perplexity who you are. Ask ChatGPT what you're known for and see what comes back. And then ask yourself, is this the story I want AI to tell about me? If the answer is no, now you know what to work on. So that's a wrap on today's episode of Build and Be Found. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who's working on building their brand or growing their visibility, because this stuff matters and not enough people are talking about it yet. And hey, if you want, we can go deeper on any of these tactics. Just reach out to me at Malka Maxwell Shapira on LinkedIn, and I'd love to hear what you are working on. You can also leave comments. I will do my best to get down in the comments and interact with everybody. I do also have a Discord. You can send me questions over there. It's through Get Ahead Marketing Solutions, GAMS, GAMS, as well, also in the bio of this video. And until next time, keep building, keep showing, keep making yourself impossible to ignore. See you next episode.